Welcome to the Downside Riverside intro to an episode. Let me just say this, guys. I
Say
know
it.
you don't reply. I know you shouldn't reply to the comments. I want Russell there too. I want Russell there too. Um, uh, we just had to do a couple without him.
He's phasing me out. He's phasing me out, everyone.
Don't say it. It's I let me try to think. I think the most brutal comments were like stop listening at and then was the time code immediately after this part ended, you and me.
God.
Another one said, without Russell it feels flat, and this one was a dud on top of that. And I was like,
Oh,
Jesus, don't
Jesus.
spell it out. There's a thumbs down arrow. There's a button.
Yeah,
Just
do
press that.
Everyone do
And the
that.
message it's loud and clear. Listen, I'm joking. I know it's not that many people. I know people. It's here's what I recognized is that, and you're about to get another one. It's just a two-hander, me and a guest. My energy is just different with just one other person. Like literally, I couldn't do what we do or a three thing fits.
You're better
So
in
I
a
think for some, what was that?
you're better in a threesome.
I'm better in a threesome. I've been telling Tova that for so long. I'm like, baby, I come alive when I have an audience. So, all that being said, this is with Maria Bamford, fucking awesome. But I also know,
I need a guy. I need a guy there, baby, and this will be great.
yeah, that's so. So this is a great episode. You'll enjoy it, but I understand it's a little bit different. So again, we're gonna keep doing these Riverside intros. Some are gonna be longer, some are gonna be shorter. Today's a shorter one. But after Maria Bamford, we had Laura Peak, and I said, you know what? Let's see what it's like with three. So in that one, Kristen Chirico, a podcast episode favorite. Kristen Chirico is my co-host, and it was. I said, oh well, this is what the podcast more normally is, and you'll enjoy it. Maybe one or two after that without Russell, but we're recording one on the road together. We're gonna do it when he's in LA. And I think there's some cool stuff happening behind the scenes. Hopefully, we'll get to a place where Russell is flying in economy, Spirit Airlines, which, believe you me, that would be a big bump up. And we'll be like, oh, we got Judd Apatow. Come on down. So, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I understand and know it's not for lack of trying. But we're gonna have more coming up, and enjoy the different flavor of these.
Yeah.
Enjoy the Patreon, because remember, if you want me and Russell straight on, this month, next
Straight
month,
up.
you get 2 bonus every month, just me and Russell. And we're gonna be releasing footage from our live shows, like we kind of condensed, not that much though. I mean, it's like 20, 30 minutes of our Toronto show that's going on the Patreon, Vancouver show, our other live dates. So check it out. So, Russell, I talk about myself so much with Maria and my life. Tell the listeners about your big first concert, Roosta.Bon.
Yeah. Okay. So for everyone who doesn't know, because I never talk about it, um, I am in a band, and it's hard to describe because basically 7, 8 years ago, my two friends and I, we just had we like music, we love music. We did a thing at Joe's Pub where we did some covers, and we had a really good experience doing that, putting that together. And we were like, "Oh, this is like really fun. Like we should get together and jam, the ye old jam." And so we started doing that, and we started writing songs just for fun, just for every couple of weeks we'd hang out and write some songs and stuff. And then COVID happened, and we kind of all wrote a lot during COVID just to do stuff. And then yeah, so we basically had gone on long enough where we were kind of wrote a full album worth of music. It's like over an hour of new songs. And we were like, we should do this. Um and then it was kind of like that thing where it's so much work to do that it was like we just kind of have to pick a date and force ourselves to do it, because it's like Otherwise, it'll just never happen. It'll never be like, oh, we're ready to do it without forcing ourselves. So back in the fall, we were like, let's do it February 22nd. And we did it, and it went well. It was fun, and it seemed like people enjoyed it. People had fun. People had really lovely, beautiful things to say. Um, and so yeah, so I'm in a band. That's
I
the news.
you know how they make I was trying to look it up while you're saying, so I said it correctly, and this is how bad Google is. Is it biopic or biopic?
For like a movie about
Yeah.
a biopic, right?
I was just thinking about, like, if this band blows up, it's going to be the dullest biopic of all time.
Why?
I was thinking about, like, Elton John, where it's like there's fucking and cocaine,
yeah.
and yours is like you had a nice concert at Joe's Pubs, COVID, a lot of Zoom meetings,
Yeah.
and then concert went well,
It's a lot
and then
of, like,
everyone's waiting for the turn.
yeah.
In fact, they cut to the scene of us in Vancouver getting offered cocaine, and you
Well,
go, "No, thank you."
famously, things don't go wrong until you're famous. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we're in the beginning state. We just performed for 70 people. So I think we
But
have
how
a
much of that was
while.
industry?
Oh, no one. It was family and friends. It was in a
It's
coffee
like
shop.
guys, the assistant casting director from House Casting is here,
Yeah.
Beth
Um,
Melsky. So you felt so. Tell me about, like, the show felt good.
Yeah,
Um,
except the only thing that sucked was that we had worked on, like, I was like, we need to walk on, like it's a coffee shop, so it's kind of like not we want I was like, let's make it look cool in there. Let's set the mood. Let's bring in some lights. So I was like big on that. And I was also like, it's really important for a band to have a cool walk on song.
of
So
course.
I kind of like, and get people in the mood of it. So we wrote this thing that was kind of like, not like a song, but it's like, big kind of like drone sounds that are like building to something. And Jen records everything, my bandmate. So she's had like 8 years of conversations at rehearsals she's recorded. And
Wow.
she like went through it and like edited this like thing of us like talking about the songs or like laughing about stuff and like made this thing. So anyways, she made this thing. It was really cool. And so our like stage manager introduces us, says we're gonna get started, and goes to push the button, and then it's like that's the button's not working, and it was like
Oh,
the thing where you're like, God damn it, like to the entrance. So Tim in his like outfit, we all have coordinated outfits. No one's seen us yet. Tim has to like scuttle onto the tiny coffee
oh
stage to
no,
be like,
no.
troubleshoot this. And it's like the laptop had like like switched off the keyboard button, and then the input changed and everything was fucked. So after like 2 minutes of fiddling with it, it was fine. But it was just like bam, right to
Yeah, yeah,
start. I mean, it
yeah.
was the only big thing that went wrong, so it was fine. But
So that's the climax of the biopic. It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
no sound.
yeah.
Um,
But no, people were so sweet. Douglas was there, downside Douglas.
Downside Douglas. That's what we call him
Downside
around these
Douglas.
parts. Downside Douglas.
Yeah. Um, and it was cool. It was so funny to be like, people were chanting the band name, and it was like really funny to me because Jen and I, like, we worked together. It was one of my first jobs in New York. I worked in a call center with Jen. That's how I met her.
Uh huh.
And we made the band name up like probably 12, 13 years ago as a joke, like a joke band name. So it was just like a
Yeah.
name we had thrown around for a long time. So yeah, it was cool. It was really nice. But yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well,
I mean,
one
well, I'm
day
sure
if
we'll
you
be doing more performances. I'll keep people posted on Instagram. But it is hard. It's so much work.
Of
My
course. Just
God.
do me a favor. One day when you guys are jamming, just record
The
record the
downside.
downside.
Yeah.
Record the downside. I'd love to play it
Yeah.
as a little thing.
Um,
Well, I'm so proud of you, buddy. That's so exciting. I wish I could have seen it.
yeah.
But I
Made
think
me.
that's
What was funny
yeah.
is I had a friend, his mom was in town, and she's from England, and she has been in town for the one day that I went on in Gutenberg.
Uh-huh.
And she happened to be in town for this and came to this. And so she came up to me afterwards. She's like, well, God, next time I see you, hopefully, like just like all these like random, like creative things. And it did feel like this thing of like, yeah, I moved to New York and I'm on a podcast. I do Broadway. I have a band. Like I do. It was a good feeling to be like, yeah, I'm a creative person.
The first part of that was very funny, though. Listen, I love our podcast, but it really is hard to separate. You said, yeah, I'm in New York. I'm on a podcast.
I know. That should have been the third thing for sure. That should have been.
You got to say like two credits, and that justifies the third thing, which is a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went.
Yeah, spoken word poetry. Who knows what I'll be doing next time she comes to New York.
Live music is so crazy. I went to a guitar camp for 1 week in my guitar phase in high school, and it was 1 week, and we did a live show, and my guitar was out of tune. Like as I got on stage, I realized, and so I played this out of tune guitar. It sounded awful, and that's a different breed of people. Music.
Yeah. Hey, do you know? One time I remember I had a memory from my childhood best friend. His dad was gonna do a small performance for people.
Uh-huh.
And he put out the guitar and he was ready to perform, and I just went over to the guitar and was touching it, and I turned all the knobs. I just didn't know what those knobs do. But I turned them all, and I remember he got so mad. He was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I was like, I don't know, I'm a fucking kid. I don't know what those knobs do. I just was but now as an adult, I would that would be really annoying to
That'd be a disaster.
Really?
I'd love you said that. I bet you a kid fucked with that button for the opening song. And if you had seen, what are you doing? I remember at that guitar camp, there was a scandal. One kid got kicked out because I guess he couldn't help. He kept asking all the women at camp. He said when they went to the beach, what happened when they got sand in their pussy? And it was this we were in high school, so it was highly inappropriate. It was one of those things where they said we had to let him go, and no one would say why. And then you talk to the kids and be like, yeah, he kept asking, and he insisted on an answer. And I remember it was one of those moments, when you hear something, you're like, oh my God, that's insane. What happens when the sand gets in the pussy, though? How does it? I never thought about that.
It's just
a real
funny.
conundrum.
It's funny. Did he it's funny how he was fixated on it that day. Did he hear something? Did he run into someone experiencing it? It's interesting. Ultimately,
I love he keeps going up the ladder, and he gets to the head of the NIH or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, no one's ever looked into this. Because we all felt it was, surely an inappropriate question.
Maybe if one person answered him, he wouldn't have had to keep asking.
Don't you know they always say that women's science of women's bodies because of the patriarchy, no one studies all these different things, and it would be funny if that's the last. We got to get to the bottom of this.
Okay, but what do you think happens?
I think the same way as when sand gets in your eye, there are features and excretion and
I shower after I go to the beach and I get it out.
Sure, and I'm sure some of the.
Do you not? You just let it in there? Leave it in?
It'd be funny if later you have a baby, and the baby comes out, and you're like, "Oh my God, your hair is covered in sand." All right, guys, enjoy this episode with the legendary Maria Bamford.
Wait, that's it? That's all we're doing?
Yeah, I gotta go. I got a show. I got a theater adult.
Oh my God! Okay.
But I love you. I'm proud of you. Please record that. People would love to hear it. Just the downside theme. We got a Patreon. Join the Patreon. This episode, Maria Bamford. We got another with Laura Peak and Kristen Chirico, and maybe one more without Russell. And then Russell's back, and then away. But we're doing it. We're working, and some cool things happening. You won't have to go this long without Russell in the future. But thank you for staying subscribed.
He's phasing me out. He's phasing me out.
Thank you for staying subscribed. Stay subscribed. Tell your friends. I'm very insecure.
No.
And love you guys. Love you, Russell.
Love you.
Love you, Paige. Be well, everyone. This is The Downside.
You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.
Welcome to The Downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here in Spotify Studios. My co-host Russell Daniels in New York, as he is for all these LA episodes. But, and believe you me, for you, I said, can you fly down for this one?
Come on.
Can you fly down? I said.
Jet blew it overnight.
I'm here with the legendary stand-up comedian Maria Bamford. Maria, we'll get to you in a second. I have an issue.
Okay.
I got into an argument with a comic.
Oh, no. Or congratulations.
No, it wasn't like an exciting, like, yeah, I stuck it to Joe Rogan and he's mad at me. No, it was, I'll keep it vague.
That's the real work.
Yeah. I wouldn't do the show now. I know these are your friends. I can't do, who knows? You came
I
up
don't
with
know.
these people.
I didn't. I think he was a little older than I was.
Oh, yeah?
No shade. But he was, yeah. But I don't know him at all as a person.
Okay, great.
I just know him from his
His vaccine
oeuvre.
commentary.
His oeuvre.
I imagine people get into Joe Rogan now. They're more like, I know him from his science commentary work more than anything.
Wow.
From his political promotional
And
materials.
his club in Austin, Texas, and I think he's opening another one.
He's opening another one.
Oh yeah, I think these are all rumors I hear on the chat from several lady comics.
I feel like I was talking to someone where it's like comedy clubs in theory were nonpartisan, politically, but it does feel like it feels like that club has a bent to it. And maybe all clubs do.
Oh God, they're all massively conservative. They're all heteronormative.
It's like American politics. It's all to the right.
It's America's Got Talent, but they would like to sell some curly fries and some drinks. Like it's not. They'll do one-offs. I mean, they're willing. It's a restaurant. It's a restaurant.
Of course.
So
yes, they're all. Certainly all Zionists, that's for sure. But
I want to speak. There are some not like that.
Some that are good restaurants.
Yeah, comedy. The Comedy Attic out of Bloomington, I know, is independent and also does things that are very inclusive of the community and gives back to the community, is fantastic. I know there's several clubs like that I'm not going to remember the names of. And
what about the bad ones? What about the ones that closed?
Closed?
Like I did Looney Bin, Oklahoma City, and that's like one of those where I landed Wednesday. I will land. It was like a 5-day run.
Oh God.
Landed on Wednesday. Said, just so you know, tonight's also the open mic night, so there's going to be 16 comics, and then you're doing 30. I was like, oh my God, plastic brick wall in the back, not a good sign.
Oh.
Food only half off, not a great sign, and that closed. It's gone.
Closed. Well, and I don't know how hard it is to run a comedy club. I can only imagine. I would just want to give a shout out to anyone who's ever worked in one as a server or a line cook.
Sure.
It is one of the most thankless jobs in that you're trying to serve people a shit ton of watered down drinks. And I'm not. But this is truly what I've gone to comedy clubs. I go to comedy clubs. I saw Todd Barry at Flappers. I love Todd Barry. I love Flappers. But it's a certain experience that you're signing up for, and
You weren't working the tables.
I was not working the tables, but I did enjoy the work of those. I'm going to say his name out loud, Jeff from the wait staff. Who does an amazing job, and tip your wait staff.
Tip your wait
get
staff.
anything out of this.
Yes.
I am already getting paid. Oh, tip your opener and your middle, because they're probably not getting paid that much.
Sure.
I pay my opener and my middle a bump, but many times the opener or the middle is only earning $25-$50 a show. Doesn't matter where it is. Doesn't matter if it's in a giant, the Madison Square Garden, or it's pretty bad news if you're opening. So tip your openers.
Especially some comics don't let their openers sell merch. I think that's pretty
Which
brutal.
is some bullshit.
Unless you're ready to, if you were to say, hey, I'm going to put down some serious money don't worry about merch.
Yeah, don't.
But you
yeah.
got to put down some big money.
No, and yeah, merch. Jackie Cation, who opens for me, and I am grateful for it. And sometimes when I've done so poorly at a date that we've had to switch places, and she'll headline.
What year are we talking?
It was a long time ago, but it could happen any day of the week in the
Was
in
just
Los
the wrong
Angeles.
city for?
Oh, yes. They used to. I'm not sure if they still do this, but they used to book people based on just the appearance. So I was a attractive white young lady, and sometimes people look at a photo and go, "Oh, I'll like that.
Uh-huh.
I think I'll like that."
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, you're in Erie, Pennsylvania, and you're doing someone's 40-year retirement from the Navy. And boy, is everybody depressed and very angry. And
But
that's
your
why-
dad was in the Navy, though.
No. Yeah, my dad was in the Navy, but I didn't have any material for this older man. But Jackie Cation took the helm, and then I paid her what I was going to get paid.
That's very nice.
She's a great friend.
And a great comic.
Yeah.
Check out Jackie
Great
Cation.
comedian, JackieCation.com, Kashian. She has several specials. Treat yourself to JackieCation.com.
Now, I first saw you for people listening, because they're not all New York comedians, most of them. But I saw you at the People's Improv Theater. You did some kind of talk.
Oh,
I remember because when the tickets went on sale, I was on the subway and I got off my train before the stop because I was like, I gotta get tickets to this thing. And the two things I remember were one, and looking back at it now, I think I understand where you were like, maybe I'll show a bit that I'm working on. You like said to the audience, who of course said, please.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you proceeded to deliver. I still hold a gripe with you. You proceeded to deliver a fairly polished 5-minute monologue that looking back, I'm like, that's like when I say, yeah, it was all new material tonight. And it's like, yeah, I didn't record it on a special yet. You've delivered a 5-minute perfect, broken down. Now, maybe you were just right on the money. Maybe your new material's coming out that tight.
Well, here's what I'll say about that is that it takes me 3 or 4 years to write a whole new hour.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff that hasn't been recorded yet, I'm at the end of doing 3 years, and I'm calling it new material, but I've been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah.
So yes, you are correct to be angry.
As a young comic, it made me. I said, "Oh shit, I fucking suck."
No. I'm so sorry about
It's
that,
okay.
and that I bet that was done out of pride and fear that I made that decision to do bits that were quite polished. Because I'm as terrified as anybody. Like
Sure.
I don't want to disappoint people, and I don't often. I write to perform, so sometimes people like write on stage or they improvise off ideas, from the crowd, which is unpaid invisible work. The crowd needs to be remunerated if you're going to be.
Wow. Oh no.
Yes.
I owe a lot of money.
If you're talking to somebody, come on, hand them a 20. If they're giving
Maria,
you,
I can't afford this. I can't afford to go along with this.
anyways, if you're headlining, if you're already making good money, I just say, if you're asking for the crowd for half your act, then
Sure.
come
half.
on.
Yeah.
No, and that's me.
No,
being-
I think if people knew what people actually made off social media financially, it's kind of a little bit shrouded in mystery. There would be some people that go, hey, what the fuck? That video went viral.
Yeah.
How much money did you make off that video that I'm in half of?
Yeah, that I threw the beer can at you and I was the
Ariel
trumper.
Elias.
Yeah.
That was my hope. She was opening for me, who got the beer can thrown at her.
Oh,
You hear that, Ariel? You owe that guy who threw that beer can at you some dough.
No, and I'm so sorry that all of this is done from a dark place in my heart where I'm saying things out of fear, and so apologies.
But
Yes.
fun. So my girlfriend, her name's Tova Silberman. She's a manager at Mosaic.
Oh,
I met her basically during COVID, but she was an agent at Gersh before that, started as a touring agent. So during that lecture, masterclass, whatnot at the Pit, you handed your Bell House contract.
yes.
You were performing at the Bell House.
Yes.
and you express kind of transparency when it comes to money. So you're passing along this Bell House contract.
Yes.
And my girlfriend told me, she was at Gersh at the time. She said, even though I didn't know her then, that her name was on that contract because she was part of whatever that deal was. But it was so funny because it's like, and this makes me question transparency sometimes. Where I remember seeing that contract and going like, great, well, I'll bring this to the next pitch show that I'm doing 5 minutes at and getting paid in a drink ticket. I'll be like, I like the Maria Bamford 70% of the door deal.
Yeah,
And they would say, but it was funny to look at that contract at that level.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, okay, long way to go before this.
But not, because you can do that in very small venues. Like you do it in a coffee shop,
Sure.
in a 30-seat theater.
Sure.
Like you can say, hey, I just did it today. There's a tiny new theater called Outside In on York Boulevard in Highland Park that's coming up, and I do 8 a.m. shows. Now, yeah, there you can do smaller contracts. I think it's helpful to just put any contract out there of like, okay, at least you have it down somewhere in writing. Now I know
Sure.
the arts. Sometimes people go, "Hey, man, why do we have to put it on a piece of paper? You trust me?" I don't. I don't trust you at all. I don't trust me.
Sure.
I don't trust me. So, like, let's put it on a piece of paper and try. Let's try to put something together.
I think part of it, though, I think it was just that we had all these schools. We had UCB, we had the Pit, and so like the idea, their end of the bargain was, we'll give you this space that you don't have to pay money for. We guarantee some audience. Certainly with UCB, that was the thing. It was like they'll guarantee audience, and in a way, I think when you don't have to produce it from the ground up, it kind of cripples you to a degree where like you don't negotiate because they say, well, this is what our deal is. And for some of them, it's zero.
And that's fine if you're into that. Like, I need a specific audience. Like, I am a grocery store orchid of comedy. Like, only certain people are going to want to see what I have to do. So I don't want to have the hoi polloi from the local parade that just walk by.
Sure.
I would like to have specific people who've gone out of their way. That's why I do shows very early in the morning.
Yeah.
So that I'll do a show for a baby. It's mostly babies who are up that early.
Well, you do this thing. I have a friend who's not a comedian. We were actors together, and I started in acting, so I came from like a playwriting kind of. I write everything down.
And did you have contracts for that when you sold a play, or?
Oh yeah. I had contracts for that, and I do the contract stuff now, certainly.
Oh, interesting.
But I've always felt like one of my, not secrets, but certainly a tool in my creativity is my friend. I pay them for an hour a week usually, and I kind of ramble out new jokes, new tags, whatever.
Yes.
And you do this kind of one-on-one, but with various people.
Yes.
And I just can't. I volunteered for it once, and I thought I was so nervous because I was like, I don't really laugh.
Oh.
And we were going to do it. It was Grand Rapids, but your flight got canceled.
Oh, okay.
But I thought that my friend, the reason I do it with them is they're very generous with their laughter. If they laugh, I know the bit's not done, but I know it has legs.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
and it's joyful, and it makes it fun. I have friends who I pay in Los Angeles, and I pay my friends minimum of $250 an hour because we are living in a wasteland of Mad Max. So. And is that virtue signaling like a lighthouse?
Here's how cheap I am. I was like, oh, $2.50.
No.
That's really nice of you.
No.
I'll have to bump up my rates.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what I'm earning, I want my friends to be earning just as much as I am.
Sure.
And I have union wages in terms of I'm earning that for voiceovers. I'm earning at least $1,200 an hour.
Do you think it is? I hear a lot of big headliners, and now that I know the door deals, I know in a sense at least how much money they're making. But the ones that don't pay well, do you think they should be publicly called out?
I think it's philosophy. So if I think a lot of times people just don't even think about it because I don't think about it. Like I didn't think about it. Like I was like, huh. Like for example, like I didn't think about well, when you go to stay at a hotel, which I've stayed a million hotels, that oftentimes the people who work the door, who are at the lobby level working with, that they take tips. That
Sure.
the housekeeping obviously are the lowest paid workers. That they, it's best to do a couple of tips for them, to heavily tip them, because they're usually women. They're usually women of color. They're usually it's a physically extremely demanding job. So it's just things I think it's just not knowing, and so that's
That's kind though. Sometimes people know. Sometimes people should know better.
yeah. But I don't think shame. Well, sometimes I guess it does. I mean, I've been shamed. I've been publicly shamed before. Yes,
When were you publicly
yes.
shamed?
I think this was several years ago, but it's happened several times. I think it happens to everybody, where you say something weird and you're like, "Oh shit,
Oh,
I'm
sure.
sorry. Oh, I fucked up." So this one in particular was I was performing in North Carolina, which at the time was doing the anti-trans bathroom bill in public spaces. I was performing at a theater. Somebody said, "Hey, you shouldn't perform there," because all these artists were pulling away from performing
Sure.
in North Carolina. So I was grateful that somebody put something out there, because I was like, okay, well, all right, so maybe I'll cancel the date. So I was canceling the date, and then, and I think I put that online, then a bunch of people said, "I'm trans and I'm coming to your show and I really wanted to come." So it's like, okay, so what I need to do is make this a benefit for trans youth in the area. Like it made me make a better decision.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, good.
I think. Now it was hilarious when I told the person who was the initial person who had tagged me or called me out. I said, "Here's what we're doing. I just want to let you know, thank you for commenting, and this is what's happening. Hope you like it, but oh well, if it didn't, yeah." And the person was so funny. They're like, "Well, I'm not even from North Carolina. I don't know why I said it. Anyways, I'm in theater and I work in New York City, and I just was kind of scared, but now I got worried because I was like, oh, you seem to be freaked out about it. Sorry." So
But it worked. Your story was a perfect example of the public shaming working great.
it works. Yeah. So yeah, but I also think at the same level, there's going to be just as many people who are going to write hate speech about it. I mean, I don't know. I tried to did a study with this sociologist at the University of Chicago, just doing the percentages in comedy clubs nationwide of how many percentages were women, men,
Sure.
and then within that, people of color, people of GLBTQ plus. And we put that out there, and then, immediately, people are all like, "Yeah, we know," or the one main person who didn't like it said, "I never worked those clubs, and I'm a white man, and I never worked those," and it's like,
Well, that's why sometimes people look towards entertainment for progress, and I'm like, this is a rough place to seek out positive change because it's filled with narcissists.
But it is performative generosity, and I know that's really is part of the reason I do anything good, is that I can tell a shit ton of people about it. So I'm not against that. Like my husband and I, we give 11% of our income to charity because that's 1% better than the Jews, Christians, or Muslims.
I love that though. I think people need that impetus. So that's why I think, I don't know, sometimes I hear about some headliners that should think it over, Theo Vaughn.
But you don't know, like, what people, because people give in different ways. Like a lot of people are supporting family, are supporting friends. Like, I don't know. I never want to judge anyone, but I do want to empower people to speak up for yourself. If someone is asking you to do the job, and this goes for any job, they want you. They need you. And that's where your power is to say, well, I need this amount of money. Otherwise, you can't have the special thing that is me.
Sure.
Because, like, I have different openers when Jackie can't do it. I'll have people from different parts of the country, and there'll be younger people, and they'll say, "Oh, I would do this for free." And it's like, no, I picked you out of 6 different people because I thought you were cool, so that I would seem cool.
Sure, but you speak from a place. Listen, there's very few people that are you're uniquely generous. You are. You are from a comedy club standpoint, and like there's a degree of like if I had demanded, for example, when I started stand-up comedy, I worked at this club LOL, and I did every check spot for like a year. I got more stage time than most comedians can get.
Yeah.
Especially in their first year or in any city right now. I wasn't getting paid.
Yeah.
If I had asked for $1, I would have been out of there like that. And I only got to do it from a place of privilege. I had, I came from parents with enough money and blah, 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 blah.
But you didn't ask, so you don't know.
Maria, I know. This guy, we always connected over theater. And I said to him, I tried to, schmooze him up because I want spots. I was like, well, what's your favorite Shakespearean play? He loves Shakespeare. And he said, my favorite character, Shylock, which if you don't know, Merchant of Venice, Shylock the Jew, and he was not Jewish, but that character, which is criticized when it's portrayed sometimes as being anti-Semitic, he connected with his
inner insecurity, financial insecurity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say Jewiness, but yes, as a Jew. But there was no way. There was no way. Surely you worked. If you had this level of self-respect in the beginning of comedy, in the beginning of this fucked up art form,
but
would you have gotten?
Yeah, no, I did. I didn't do any shows that were where I was gonna. I mean, I tried to avoid any show where I'd bomb, which means going to women's festivals, gentle performance art venues, shows at midnight in a black box theater that no one's going to come to unless they're depressed or in the middle of a theater district. Like I have genuinely tried to set myself up to succeed. I don't want to. There's a good reason I didn't move to New York. That's not my place. Like it's really tough there at the clubs. Like they're very. Again, like, shut the fuck up, you suck, you whatever. Like it's very harsh, the language.
Sure.
If somebody doesn't like you, I can't do it. And that's why I moved to Los Angeles, where it's just like, hey girl, hey, you're amazing. I will never see you again, but you're I've lost focus.
How do you stay? I promise not to stay on comedy for the whole thing because not everyone's a comedy person, but I am curious because I think I just taped something a week ago.
Oh,
and
congratulations!
Thank you very much. And I think I started to get nervous because I was like, man, I really have moved away from doing spots in general.
Okay.
And as I look at my this special had some stuff that was from kind of earlier era, and it's like it was, the velocity of each punchline and twist it was cultivated in a room where I was scared of losing people's attention. And it not necessarily for better or for worse.
Yeah,
it just that was
it's
where
fast.
it was born.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to figure out, going back to doing some spots or occasionally perform for people that are not just fans, because I get nervous of getting bad. I've seen the trajectory of almost every comedian is downwards, funny wise. Almost every. You, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but you've maintained very just strong throughout. but now you have fans.
But I don't think, I don't know. And also, I'm not a big fan of critique and criticism itself.
What
Like
about to yourself, though?
No, like I think as an art form, critique I think is important, and people like to discuss things like film and all the different art forms. But to me, I don't find it useful as an ongoing reason to be. Like the reason I make stuff is because it makes me feel better and I'm alive. It's not. It's not how well it's doing, because I've done, gotten nice kudos and felt great for a second,
Sure.
oxytocin boost. And then the next breath, had, somebody at one of my 12-step meetings go, just look at me the wrong way. And I'm broken by that, So I just don't think it's a place to go.
Are you speaking at the 12-step? Like, do you talk?
It's an anonymous program, and it's just like an open mic.
Is that how you approach it?
I mean, I guess not really. So
Do you pull back from the voices, or do you do?
Yes, I don't do voices. No, please. Oh my Lord. But all the 12-step meetings are now on Zoom, so it's very convenient. If you ever have some kind of terrible addiction or situation going down, or if you're just bored, please attend a 12-step meeting. They're so odd, but they are free.
And they're very comfortable. They have been with me talking about. So my friend, who is the person I run the jokes by, was going through a rough patch.
Aww.
Where, especially with with alcohol and the 12-step, especially with 12-step, they were very, very ardently against any kind of religious talk, which I understand, especially if I'm going to something from like an emotional, where I want to be vulnerable. If someone starts talking about God, I dismiss them.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I go, well, clearly I can't trust you because we're on different planes of reality.
Yeah.
And it was, I think there was a lot of reasons. I was really desperate to try to get them into a 12-step program, knowing very little about it for my own, other than some kind of structure, anything, a group of people who can understand, who you don't feel the same level of shame around. But like for them, the any talk about God, and I get it.
Yeah.
I don't. But you've been to programs, and you say you're an atheist.
Yeah, I'm an atheist. I just, but I believe in physics. I do think like people getting, in cognitive behavioral science, where if you make eye contact with another person and talk about something, that's gonna light your brain on fire, and you're gonna feel somewhat better. Now, that said, it is completely unprofessional, so there's some real weirdos in 12-step. Like, watch your back. Like,
so when someone talks to you about God, do you roll your eyes internally?
No. I think there's just as many horrible atheists as there are.
Not necessarily that, but if someone says it's like if someone says to you, like, for example, before the taping, we did one show before at the Space with the set or whatever to kind of figure it out, and it was bad. It was bad. It made me go, and it was rainy. It was 70% of the people showed up. There were a lot of things, and ultimately it went well, thankfully. But I got off stage, and my girlfriend, who knows me, knew it was a rough 24 hours. And some people would say to me in an attempt to comfort,
"Oh God,
bad dress means good show." And internally, I want to go, I don't believe in that, whatever that,
Juju.
Just the but that's what it is to me. You might as well say everything happens for a reason. God doesn't. It's a version of Hakuna Matata. Let's feel better for the sake of feeling better. And I go, that doesn't help.
Yeah, and I guess I take all those things as just like a kind human attempt.
Sure, it's just I
Like-
wasn't in the place to put up my face of thank you so much. I was just
Yeah, and so then you just you turn away. But yeah, because I don't know if those things are very helpful. But when somebody says something to me, I feel like, and whether it's a blessing or that they're praying for me or whatever, it's like awesome. Oh my God, I can use whatever good stuff is coming. I'm down. But it doesn't. I think because I've known people who it means a lot to. My mother, especially, was a very religious person. Just really felt like she had an intimate relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ.
Did she talk to you about it? Did she say like, "Oh, I talked to Jesus"?
No, not too much. She was just super, I think, comforted by it.
Yeah.
And I think, life fucking sucks.
Sure.
It's hard. So if you've got something that can comfort you, that's awesome. I don't think atheism kind of comforts me because I feel like I'm not counting on anything. Like
You can't
that's
be disappointed.
well, also like I can't be punished.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
I think I've had just some experiences, and many people have had far worse experiences than I have. And just thought, okay, I don't want that idea of like I'm being taught a lesson by by this grievous this experience that's so horrendous, which is sometimes what I've felt. Sometimes spirituality or religion says of like, God doesn't give you anything more than you can handle. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
Sure.
Yeah, sure does. In fact, people die of it.
Exactly.
They die of it.
Exactly.
So, but that's my.
That's always to me.
experience.
There's always been there's always been a kind of deeper narcissism than just the sort of when someone says, "Oh, the universe is listening," I just have that automatic reaction. Like if someone left their phone in an Uber, and then the next Uber that calls that same Uber, and their phone is there, and they go, "The universe is listening." I am of that mind, and I've learned to shut it up so I can maintain relationships of just like, so you're saying,
Yeah.
so God looks at Gaza and says, "Well, let me get you your phone back first, and then we'll get to that." God needs to get his priorities in line, and I think even my girlfriend who was raised very religious, Jewish religiously, but not necessarily spiritually, but her version, she'll do the universe is listening, or she'll talk about manifestation, and then like clarify, well, it's not really a spiritual, you're just focusing your things, but there's a little of that woo still there.
The magical woo woo.
And listen, when I'm on my deathbed, I imagine I'll engage in my form of woo woo, which is like, well, everything's conscious, and we're all and like that's, and I'll want that.
Yeah.
But anything further defined, I immediately go, so you're saying,
Oh,
so
yeah.
yours, and I can't help it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily I express it.
Yeah.
Like I think, but I feel it in a way that I cannot be comforted by those thoughts, because to me it's almost condescending, or I'm like, are we both lying to each other right now?
Yeah. I get that, or it feels dishonest to say, oh, yes, that's what's happening.
When did you stop believing?
I want to say around, when I was like around 35.
30? Really?
Yeah. Like I just thought, I'm feeling so bad inside my brain, for whatever reason. And I was like, I think I've done everything that you can do, and I'm living in a beautiful place, and I, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
And I just thought that I think there's workarounds to, like vision boards. Thousands of people have made their vision board. I hope you're working on yours. And I like making those because it's fun to like think about plans. It's
Yeah.
fun to think about plans and hope. Hope. I'm totally into hope, but
Sure.
hope without action, without me actually calling my representatives or showing up to protest or volunteering in my community, is bullshit to me. To me, I feel like it can make me feel good if I do meditate and sense. Oh my gosh.
Actually, sometimes I have a cynical thing with meditation where I'm like, was this just created so that when, all the rich people in the world take away all earthly comforts,
Yeah.
that they go, well, try sitting with nothing and breathing, and that's actually where the real joy is. And I go, you motherfuckers up there.
I don't know. I don't know where meditation came from.
I just
began
feel like
to
it came from a time where it was like, I'm hungry.
There's
And it's like,
nothing.
well, meditate and you'll find something deeper. I just am suspicious of all things.
I like meditation because I think it helps me notice when I'm acting out of fear.
Sure.
When I'm saying things that are based in defensiveness, where I'm just like, oh, hold up. I'm trying to think of one. Oh, I was taking a tour of the Outside In Theater, which is on New York Boulevard, and it's going to be a nonprofit theater focusing on people of color as well as GLBTQ plus performances, theater, stand up, etc. So check it out. But I was taking a tour of it, and as this young person is showing me this beautiful facility, all I can think about is, I got to tell him about this person, and I got to connect him with this person, and then I got to tell him about this thing, and then I got to tell him. It's like, Maria, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
No one's asked you. No one needs you. Just be here and celebrate this wonderful thing and shut the fuck up. Like, that's what meditation or, taking a breath helps me to do. And yeah, just helps me for a second, which, obviously I'm not, I'm in no way Zen. Yeah, I'm just as monstrous as any comic when somebody's drunk in the audience and isn't enjoying the show. Then my legs start quivering and I start saying things like, well, how'd you decide to come here then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But what you just said, even in your fantasy, was quite nice.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not unkind. Like
Were you ever?
Yeah, I used to say, oh, you can play a little, this was my go-to response was, seems like you want to be a part of the show. Why don't you play the part of the little mute girl? And action. And, but I just want to acknowledge people's experience now. Like, if you've
it's so different than a typical shut the fuck up. It's a full-on act out. You offer them a role.
Yeah, oh my God, take the role by the reins. But I try to put myself in their shoes. I've often been at the wrong show. I've been at the wrong show.
Yeah.
And then couple that with you've ordered drinks, and all of a sudden you're sitting there listening to someone who to you is horrifying. And I get it. Like, and you can't, maybe you're too anxious, you're scared, you're semi-lit, so you don't want to get up and go. You start chit-chatting with your girlfriend who's also drunk off her ass.
Sure.
And then you're both kind of like maybe start having a good time because you start kind of chatting about this, performing on stage, going, this is so fucked up, I hate it, me too, I hate it. I've totally heckled performers. I once saw this guy wearing a dinosaur costume, and I just kept saying, because I was enjoying it, you're a dinosaur, from the back, and even though he was not doing well, and I feel bad.
This was a comedian.
Yeah. It was not a good moment
What
for me.
What year was this?
This was 30 years ago. But I did do it, and I acknowledge it, and I say it was fun. And so I understand where hecklers are coming from.
And all you stated was the facts.
Well,
you didn't say your act is older than the dinosaurs. I wish this act would go extinct.
I think that's what hecklers think they're doing, is they're telling the truth that everyone else feels, which, and maybe they are. Maybe they are the truth tellers. And
It's so hard when I think that when you know you're in dangerous territories, when you've really made them feel embarrassed in a way where the only way through for them in that moment is just to lose their minds and just be or so mean. Once you make someone
you
feel
sound like an abuse survivor. Once, once it's really your fault. No, people have control over their bodies and their faces, but I do understand that rage. Like I once was at an improv show where it turned out the improv show, the whole purpose of it, from what I could understand after watching it for a half hour, was that the person would keep taking suggestions and then not follow through on them. That was the funny part of the improv. I was so angry. I started involuntarily stopping my feet, and I'm like, Maria, pull out. Get out of here, you weirdo. You don't have to suffer through any performance. So that's what I try to, I always bring cash on stage so I can pay people to leave. Yeah.
always.
Almost, yeah.
And you pay them if they heckle or if they don't look.
No, if they need to leave. If they go, oh, I fucked up and I came to the wrong show, I go, oh my God, fair enough. We all do the wrong things sometimes. I love you.
And you give us some cash right there?
Yeah. I have. I mean, it hasn't happened a lot, but it's happened.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean,
I just feel like it'd be tough to. I mean, maybe that's funny. It's like one of those things. Sometimes it's like, it's a moment of defeat. You turn into a moment of it's not a defeat. It's just.
But it is. This is a transaction. I mean, if comedy is a service, which many comedians speak about it as if it's a service and not art form, like you got to be able to make every audience laugh. Oh my God, I went to China. I don't even speak fluent Cantonese, but I went up there and these people, I just got them in a froth from facial expressions.
Yeah.
Like if it's all about that machismo of customer service, then, well, maybe, yeah, I failed. So I'll give these people their money back.
Yeah, you got to pick your lane. I mean, like, I admire the people who could do anything everywhere. I think that's sometimes, or like a great warm-up person. My God, that's a skill. I admire any skill.
Yeah, it's amazing. I am not that person.
Sure.
And that's okay. And I've accepted that about myself. If you don't think I'm a comedian because I don't provide the service of making everyone laugh, that's okay too. Like, we can all have our own opinions, unless, of course, we live in a fascist republic, which seems like is just about to happen.
Has anything changed around the conversation in terms of, because I know it from my women comedian friends, has it shifted at all in terms of people coming up being like, you're my favorite woman comic, or you're funny for a woman? Have you felt any shift in the culture of it, or has it been a stasis? Because I see the comments on it's crazy.
Yeah.
The anger.
Yeah.
That some guys feel.
I think people who are on their computers a lot and don't have social lives, they have a lot of time to comment.
Yeah.
Or there's less dads. I've gotten some negative comics from some dads in Colorado. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
But
I just have to imagine they must have daughters, and their thing is they go, my daughter's going to become this I just feel like when people start getting obsessed with it and they have kids, sometimes they're like, oh, somehow if I can control the entire world around me, I can control anything that my kid could possibly be. And it's like, that's the thing that's a fascist thought, obviously.
Yeah.
That isn't true, or that's not the world we want to live in. But I think that's why dads or why parents can be so insufferable.
Moms don't go out there and like, I mean, I just don't see a lot of moms trolling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are, though. I think in most major cities, people don't say it as much, especially LA, New York, Chicago, or whatever. But there's still people who come up, and women, I would say at least half women go, you're my favorite female comic.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh my God. But that's small potatoes compared to what they could be saying, which is, I didn't know you could be on stage. because they banned women from doing stand-up in certain countries. So
Really, what countries?
Oman.
Oh yeah.
Oman just recently, I think it was last year or a year and a half ago, they banned stand-up, but certainly women doing stand-up. And then I think it's definitely banned, yes, some Middle Eastern countries.
Banned it.
Yeah,
That's wild.
yeah.
If you can find an underground comedy show, though, I bet you it's so exciting to be a part of that.
Right?
Just to add it back, add a little of the ding. Listen, maybe we're en route. Maybe we're going to be there soon. That'll be fun.
That would be yeah.
I saw Lenny
hope
recently,
not.
and I was just thinking about what it'd be like to truly get arrested at a comedy show. I mean, it would take a lot. But seeing him being like, oh, yeah, that's...
No, that's beautiful. Like you just go, okay. And I'm definitely somebody who could get arrested and it would not affect my my life.
Sure.
You know, so I'm down. I'm yeah, my husband and I don't have like a plan yet, but with the protests and stuff to be a part of that if that's helpful. Because why not?
Sure.
I
I have a lot. I have some guy friends who, I would describe as more centrist, but they keep going. They're like, well, if Trump runs for a third term and that's allowed, that's when I get my gun and I march. And I just go to them. I'm like, where
March
where you getting
now.
this gun? March how? They just the fantasy of, if this thing I really don't think is going to happen, well, that's when I'm going to put on my boots. And I'm like, okay, I'll call when it happens in 3 weeks, and we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
You did theater. You
Yes,
did
oh,
theater.
I love theater. I love it.
Any musicals?
Wait a minute. Hold on. I know I did. I did do music. There was okay. Pantomime in I did that in the UK when I went to a year abroad.
Uh-huh.
And then was there any musicals? There were musical elements to theater that I did in high school. Like they did a Greek play
Sure.
that where there were some songs in it. But yeah, I didn't do actual musical theater with dance.
Mm-hmm.
My sister did.
Yeah.
Does that count?
Of course it counts.
Yeah. But I mean, I love any kind of theater. I love Broadway Barbara. Have you had her on the show?
No, I'm trying to think if I'm having her on something
Oh,
soon. I have this show called Theater Adult where I bring people on. We talk about like their theater kid past and have them sing songs. And I feel like,
Broadway Barbara.
let me just see if that's the person we have opening.
She is a delight. If you get a chance to follow her on social media,
I will.
or see her in person at one of her many shows, live shows, which are absolutely so gorgeous. She is a quadruple
Oh my
threat.
God. She is doing, this will be released after this. She is opening my show on Tuesday. That's so cool.
She's lovely.
Oh, that's great.
And a very nice person. So, and she just did a baby.
So when was your first, because you describe them as cults. I think what's interesting that I find, I'm such a cynic, the way that you'll describe like these 12-step programs, if I were to describe them like that, I'd be like, and that's why I stopped going to them. And you describe things with an honesty that, critiques them, whatever word you want to use, but you say like a lot of these are disorganized, a lot of these are chaotic, but they're free. And it's like, but you still participate in them. And I think that's kind of the real difference between our outlooks on some of these things.
Because the world is a nightmare. It doesn't matter where you go. Like if you belong to some kind of theater, improv group of friends, my friends are my friends will say, I just don't want to date anyone who's toxic. I'm toxic.
Uh-huh.
Remember when I 1099'd you and you didn't talk to me for a year? like what the fuck are you talking about? Everybody is problematic.
Sure.
So I just don't think there's a safe space, or to me, to try to. That's a very big thing in Los Angeles where people go, I just let go of those people because they just had this really bad energy. And it's like, I don't want to let anybody go anymore. everybody gets to, like, I want to be connected with everybody. I don't care what shit you've done. I hope you go to prison for it. But, and I hope if you're a sex offender, please get yourself registered.
Sure.
I know some registered
Does anyone voluntarily does anyone go, hey, haven't done anything bad yet, just figure I should get on this list?
Oh my God, I hope so. I
doubt it. I doubt it.
I have been to a Sex Addict Anonymous meeting by accident.
By accident?
And yeah, because I just went to the wrong meeting and I was like, it was all dudes and it had a certain vibe and I was like, shit, this is heavy. And I'm like, oh, okay.
How late into by the third testimonial you said this is?
Well, people talk about like addiction in a very similar way.
Sure.
So they talk about like slipping or losing their sobriety or whatever. And so, and I'm willing. I don't know that hasn't been my. I don't have that experience of. I definitely have acted out with sex and love addiction in terms of like I used to have a one night stand once a year with someone questionable, which I stopped doing with some help, from people in the program who are like
once a year, like a holiday,
yeah, almost like like a little holiday, except it was awful. Like, and it got gradually kind of worse. And but I got help through 12-step programs for that because it was like, okay, here's people I can talk about this weird process that I go through. It's like I'll date people all year, and then I can't wait anymore, and I'll meet somebody on the road, and I'll go, do you wanna right now? And they'll be like, okay, and then it'll be gross, and then I'll be done with it. I'll go. Oh,
and you'd be in a relationship at the time, or you'd leave for that?
No. I would never have a relationship last over.
Yeah.
I think my longest relationship was 3 months, 6
wild.
months. So it's helped me to like be in contact with other human beings who are willing to talk about taboo topics, to make even small changes. Like, okay, Maria, well, if you can't stop doing the thing that's killing you, like, can you add a cheese sandwich to that? Can you do some harm reduction? Like, I definitely believe that is a process, they talk about with people who are unhoused, like creating all these restrictions. It's like, well, can you do heroin today or whatever it is you're doing? And maybe wash your face a little bit, or just, like, what are some things you can do plus what you're doing? Because I think nobody makes, at least I haven't made big changes in my life when I've been deeply ashamed and isolated.
Sure. The shame aspect, that's with my friend, I think, was there where the big thing where no matter what I said, I would say, like, listen, please just talk to me. I have no judgment about this, but I don't think it helped. I think they really need to be in a space with people who people could go, oh, you think that's bad?
Yeah, or
I did this.
Or just because it's just nice to say something. And this is the thing about 12-step, most groups, is they have no feedback. So there's no crosstalk. So nobody says anything to you after you share. You can talk to people after the meeting if you end up wanting to talk to them. And obviously there's some nut rolls who will come up and crosstalk afterwards and go, you know what, I thought you should. But that's not what's supposed to be happening.
Can you talk me through, because I've never been.
Oh my God, you gotta go!
Which one, based on talking to me now? Is there? I'm sure there's a narcissism one.
I don't know.
It'd be hard to take turns.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're all online, and you don't even have to put your face on the screen.
Don't you miss being in person though? Like I've taken a break from I had a therapist for a long time, and we never got back to in person from Zoom, and I really think it is decreased value. It was still useful.
Yeah.
But Zoom therapy, it's just not the same. Zoom podcasts are just not the same.
Yeah.
Zoom many things. Zoom.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something about the pilgrimage to the space,
Right.
and also unconscious things. Like literally, I think when you're around other people, you have smells that activate. You're with people, and
yeah.
all of your 12 steps. It's all on Zoom now.
No. I have one that's in person, and that is delightful.
If I saw you in my 12-step program, I'd go, oh fuck, and I know you don't share their stories, but I go, oh fuck, we got a stand-up comedian here who has a
Oh.
book called I just, you've taken the anonymous part for yourself
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah. Which is that's one of the rigid rules in 12 step. You're not supposed to say publicly which groups you attend. So I am breaking one of the rules, and if lightning strikes me, and it probably will.
That's the God you believe in? Just
that's
lightning
okay.
strikes for breaking AA?
Yeah, I mean, I know that people in my own group would, if they knew that I had written a book, would probably be, would be upset or sad about it. But I don't.
Surely
go
you get
talking
recognized
about it.
sometimes.
Not
No one's ever
that
come
much.
up and said, I'm here because of you.
No, I'm not. I'm known inside comedy, maybe sometimes, but not. No. I am not. I'm not a.
What was the first one that you did? First anonymous.
Oh, I was in OA. I was called the suicide hotline because I couldn't stop binging, and then I did exercise to purge. So I'd like run 5 miles or whatever, and I couldn't stop doing that for.
Was this college?
This is during college, but I had done it since the age of like 10 years old, and
Really?
it kept getting worse and worse and worse, and then finally, it was just hilarious. Like, I had remembered I was like in my dorm room, and I could not leave my dorm room. And I was just like, oh, didn't I read somewhere that there was like a suicide hotline? And so I called the suicide hotline. They gave me the contact for OA, and this was pre-internet. And just even knowing like something that existed gave me some weird hope.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I stopped. It was really
Just knowing, you didn't even go.
I didn't even go. I started going when I got home from college, and then became so into it that I got a little weird. And
How so? What do you mean?
Whenever
You
you
had
kind of
merch?
swallow the book, or whatever,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
somebody's like into whatever the thing is, and then they're just like,
And you thought
"This
the
is
rules
it.
were like, you
This-
have to do this.
This is it."
Mhm.
Yeah, and that everybody else has the same issue that you do. So, but it really helped because I could call people, it's people who relate, who are like, you can call me day or night and I'll pick up or just leave me a message. And that really takes the edge off for me. For addiction. And there's a lot of apps and stuff like that, but I would call 8-10 people a day to try to not do old behaviors.
Yeah. And
You
you're
know,
just calling, you say, well, I feel like
just
going.
hi.
Yeah.
Just to connect. I think the human instinct to connect is part of the reason that you get into addictive behaviors, is because it's like having any sort of positive emotion.
Yeah.
And it kind of it gave me permission to just also to chit chat. Like I
Yeah.
chit chat a lot on the phone all day now because I think that is part of keeping myself out of trouble, is just staying connected.
Was this how you made your friends? Like, I think about, because I'm introverted and certainly didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and it's like, well, theater was the thing that I mean, frankly, it's like theater gave me the status to feel more confident and thus able to mingle. And
Yes.
that's what I worry. I think I worry about show business because I think it's like some of that status, the feeling of like when you walk in a room and I'm the bigger comedian there or whatever, people want to talk to you, and then that just becomes this awful cycle where you go in more rooms where you're lower status and ultimately you've lost about like the human connection part of what it was.
That was so surprising to me to hear it when I was like, oh, it's not like theater at all.
Uh-huh.
Like it's like very like you're very isolated. Like if you get a job on a sitcom or a film or movie, you're in a trailer by yourself, and they keep you in there, and then I mean, I guess you're a part of it, but there's also this fear that you're going to lose the job at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was a real surprise.
But is like was this also how you made your social network? Did you have friends outside of this, or
I
did it
had
become
friends
your whole?
outside of it, but yeah, it became kind of my whole thing, along with doing performance stuff. It was definitely my whole, and it still kind of is. Like some of I have two really close friends, and then my sister, and they're not into that kind of stuff, but a number of my friends have been, whether or not they still attend the meetings, are still are through that, because it is it's a nice way to get to know somebody, to go
Sure.
have you ever done this, and that you can laugh about the worst thing that you've ever done or has ever happened to you.
Well, this is what I mean. I did plenty of acting programs, but when I did like the more Lee Strasberg inspired one, A Circle in the Square, there was a lot of like confessional talk. You start with this. It was a great
right.
teacher named Alan Langdon, and so you'd have lists. You'd start every class where the list was rage. And you would kind of, as you saw fit, you'd volunteer, and you might just let out a scream. You might go like, sometimes my dad would do this. You'd tell a story, you'd share a line. And it had a very confessional nature to it in a way where I think the older I get, the more I look at religion, acting class, and I go, oh, we just need some kind of excuse to gather and share. And then I look at each thing and I go, well, here's my problem with religion being the thing. I look at this and I go, as my friend did, the problem was the God element of it, or the anonymous of it. I look at theater and I go, well, this is poisonous for like all these systems. In a way, it's like, is it just that our lives got so fractured we didn't have community in general, so we had to create kind of ways to make community in a disparate, separated world.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I see a lot of like man camp. Like obviously there's this epidemic of male loneliness, they say.
Right.
And there's these man camps, and they're in these guys in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're forced to like physical things, but also they share and they communicate, and ultimately it has a hateful spine to it. There's a little bit of like,
I've never even heard of man camp.
yeah, it's like it's advertised to like people on me online, like I'm the age that I think people are feeling lost, and they go there, and unfortunately it's leaning towards a conservative bent. However, I look at it and I go, 80% of this is what I did at theater camp in high school.
Right.
It's just like bonding, and especially with men, where to bond could be labeled gay in a heartbeat. This is like a version where it is aggressively saying we're not gay. Now let's get shirtless and drag these weights together and then hug each other all sweat. But they need that excuse. My grandfather, my step-grandfather, tried to get my dad to go to a anonymous meeting simply because it was like, you need to do something.
Right.
And the therapy is not enough.
Right.
Now, when you were doing this, were you doing therapy too? I mean, is this...
Yeah. I've gone to therapy since I was like 9, so yeah.
How many different therapists along the span?
Oh my goodness. I do not know. More than 10, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, and I've been very privileged to have therapy. So I think.
Do you see people that go to these programs and you go, what would help on top of this? Someone who has an education in being or a guide.
Yeah, I mean.
Is anyone get addicted to these programs and they need to make an AAA?
Sure. I mean, I don't. That's. I mean, I don't know. Everything has its problems. Like even so.
What would you make better? What would you change about the program? And based on this,
I don't think I would change anything.
Nothing.
Yeah, because I think, just like like your family or your friends or
These are bad examples. I would change a lot of things about my
your friends.
family. and my
Okay. Or your neighborhood. Like part of the things that make it special are the weird or frankly screwed up parts of it where you're like, why is there a balloon store in this neighborhood? Why are there balloon stores here? Like
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Yeah, that's a benign example, but yeah, that I mean, I think if you're going to have the Truman Show, where everything's perfect, everything's
course.
beautiful, of course, I would like to live in a place where everyone had housing and a safe place to live and meaning and purpose. That would be ideal. And for whatever reason, I don't know why that hasn't happened. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's right for other people. I definitely I've given people the wrong advice so many times. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I do not know what I'm talking about. As you were, I'm so sorry.
Have you been people's? Is it sponsored?
Yes, yeah.
Is that a?
And I'm at least I hopefully I'm when I do it now or when I'm it's just listening. It's just listening to someone.
Yeah.
So it's just being like your friend, what you're saying, like going to some place that seems, I don't give feedback. I just listen and, and it's free. It's free.
Were you ever someone sponsoring? You're like, fuck, I don't have as much time as this person needs.
No, just I think having it not be a great match, like just going, oh, I don't, it's just like, because it's just like friends, where you go, oh, you're cool and everything, but it just kind of falls apart naturally, or there isn't like a system of being a sponsor or not being a sponsor, so at least as far as I know, maybe there is.
Sure,
there's not a sign up sheet where I'm, but I have a few people who call me, but I would just as equally call them, for help. It isn't at all a hierarchical situation. I would, I definitely don't know what I'm talking about and make that clear.
You say that, but you know some things.
But only for me, and sometimes for me, I'm terribly wrong. Whoops.
Sure.
As I laugh, I giggle nervously to myself.
One thing before we go into our segment, this has got to stop.
Yes.
I've talked about before, but I think a lot about. I talk about my father a lot on stage.
Oh.
In my own way, as we all have our own way of talking about our parents.
And were you raised religiously, or?
No, but it was divorced parents. So I had a very intense relationship with my dad as a kid in terms of like, I think he would date usually when I wasn't there, and then when I was there, it's like I was the apple of his eye, and we just too much.
Okay.
Too much.
Okay.
Friday nights, Saturday nights, wasn't hanging out with friends. We just hang out. He was depressed.
Sure.
And no friends. But it was fun, and we, and then he had my little sister, and that became kind of the apple of his eye, and I so it's just a lot of those, it's just a lot of premises.
Yes.
He blessed me with so many premises.
Yay!
But I always have the thought, the comedian thought that I feel like I try to tell myself, don't feel bad that you have this thought of, when he dies, like what is my relationship with this material? I think about, I think like the shitty thought is, oh fuck, I hope I get this out there before he dies. I don't think this will read as funny if he's dead at the end of this. Or I could easily, not, I could go on stage and just say it, and some comics like 40 minutes in, they go, so I should tell you now, my dad's dead.
Guess what? Yeah.
Was it ever you portraying your mom is just, it's so rich, it's so much.
Yeah.
Were there times where either she didn't
like it. I always say a blessing is that my dad is kind of, I mean, it's not a full blessing, but he's just out of it. It doesn't matter what I say about him. So I have the freedom to be brutally honest in a way I think a lot of people simply could not and maintain a relationship with their father.
Yeah. My mom had her own life. Like, she just had her own social life, her own self-esteem. Like, so she was just grateful that I had a job. And she was like, yeah, honey, do whatever you want. And the only time I think she got upset was when I made a joke about her clothes, which is that Eileen Fisher, my mom, always looks like she's about to go into war. All the asymmetrical pockets for armament. But so she felt bad about that, and so I was like, okay, fine. Oh my gosh, I won't do that.
Did you think it would hurt her feelings? Were you surprised?
I felt bad that it hurt her feelings, and I was like, oh, and I had done many things to hurt my mom's feelings over the years that weren't comedic versions, just actual.
Was your comedy about her sometimes a form of getting a frustration off your chest?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
she's hilarious, and she's died about 5 years ago of lung cancer. I think it's 76, and yeah, she was so funny, and also, yeah, she's my mom, so it was painful to talk to her sometimes. Like, I remember when she was dying, and I remember thinking specifically to myself, I'm a good daughter. I'm here, and I'm caring for my mother. I'm wheeling her through the hospital, and she said, "Kid," little finger crooks at me, "Kid, come over here. Your breath is terrible." And I was just like, oh. That I mean, isn't that it? The experience.
It would be funny if that's what she said with her last breath.
Well, yeah, and I do. I was also anxious. I thought, number one, I love my mom, so I love playing her as a character just because it's comforting to me to think of what she would say in certain circumstances. So
did you find my special closes with, it was a while ago, my dad had a heart surgery, and I do think in a way that some people would view as psychotic if they saw my brain working. I really, in real time, am thinking of jokes sometimes, not specifically like what if I pulled this plug, but like just I notice in an emotional moment now all the things along the way. Was it like, when because I saw it was Corden, right, that you did like your first set, like kind of talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you still do?
I still talk. Yeah, I still talk about my mom, and I'm hoping to do, because it's kind of my dream to play my mother for the rest of my life, because I'm slowly deteriorating, and I'm growing larger in pant size. I have a new pair of pants every week. I'm almost to my mother's welterweight. So, hey. Why not put on some Eileen Fisher and make it a show? So I've been trying. I've done probably like 3 live hours of just being my mom on stage.
The full time.
Yeah.
You come out and say, I know you thought you were seeing Maria tonight.
It's just, well, no, people know what
they've come to see. Is she a comic, or is she just happens to be?
She what she does is she provides irresponsible, unethical therapy on stage. So people come up and she'll answer questions, and then she gives everybody a check for $25 for a copay to actually see a therapist.
Sure.
After each session that she does.
I swear, you're the only headliner that loses money when they perform.
No, I don't. If you ever wanted the breakdown of what I'm making on any show, just let me know. I do the little Google sheet in the backstage before I come out, so I can let you know my net. The net, of course, is the money that you're going to receive. The gross is the gross and disgusting amount you will never see.
Okay, One show, biggest gross.
Oh, I think it was during COVID. I did a online show, and it was 50 grand. I got 50 grand for or I think doing a special. I got a special in the beginning of when Netflix was handing out money. I did a special for $350,000, and it was a delight. I tell you, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, Netflix.
And it was all thanks to the negotiating skills of who? Lawyer Lev Ginsburg of Century City, California. Shout out to Lev.
Shout out to Lev. Let's go. Our next segment. This has got to stop. Is there anything big, small, personal, anything? This has got to stop. Tell me.
Okay. I was in the Eaton fires. My husband and I, we lost the use of our house. We're living in Highland Park. So we've been to a couple of benefits. Here's what I have to say about benefits. Hour 15 tops. I don't want more than maybe 4 comics on it. Hour 15. If you are running a benefit and it goes over an hour 15, you are creating a hostage situation where the audience has become volunteers. Volunteers for your nonprofit. Stop it.
How long was this? What did you...
I have been at benefits where it has gone on to 3 hours, or they said they get a famous last minute drop in, and then they go, oh, well, can we bump you? And then I go, yeah, no, cut me. Godzilla showed up, and he's doing a set. Fucking give Godzilla an hour. Of course you want Godzilla to do an hour. I want to see Godzilla. I don't want to do a set after that. Let it go. Hour 15. That's it.
Hour 15. I agree with that. This has got to stop. And I'm stealing this. Jeffrey Asmus was telling me about it. Great comedian.
Yes. Very funny.
Fake brick walls. We were talking Looney Bin had a plastic. I'll take a plastic brick wall. This is the one. I'm not going to say the club. Some of them, they do a projection of a brick wall. We don't need it anymore. This is like a trope that a lot of generations are not familiar. What did this come from? The Improv? Night at the Improv?
Yeah, and that it was in a basement, and somehow you're doing something special in a basement. That is interesting. That it's kind of a, yeah, wow.
The projection. I go, listen. I love seeing my special. Like the idea was like you were at an off-Broadway space in between shows, so they were like, you saw kind of the backstage. You can't be a projection of a brick wall. Who are you fooling here? Who is it for? Who is going, ooh, it's like a real thing. I truly, it's the worst. I don't like a fake one either. It's either real and you feel it, or just give it the reality. I'd rather have sandbags and ladders and scaffolding, and I'll play with it. But fake brick, plastic brick.
Or give a painter a job. Paint in that shit. That's
as long as it's not bricks. Don't paint bricks.
No, but a cityscape.
A cityscape. I like a cityscape. And then you do a little joke. It's fun.
Comedy club art. Not often noticed, but some of it. Helium has some great comedy club art up in Portland.
You're talking about the backdrop.
The backdrop is
the backdrop
quite good.
of the punchline has some good art. Except I do want something I can touch.
Okay.
I like a hard surface. I like to lean.
Okay.
I like to turn. I like to hide.
Okay.
And if it's just this, you don't know what's back there. You lean, you fall.
Oh, yes.
Who knows? And then our final segment, do you have a blessing? Something you're thankful for? Big, small, personal, private, and
A
mitzvah? Sure.
No, what a beshert? Is that? No, that's a loved one, right?
Oh God, I should know. I'm doing my first Shabbos dinner. No, I mean my first. My girlfriend, she grew up in a Chabad community.
Oh
and,
my!
Yes, she did.
That's serious.
Yeah. And but she left. But I'm normally gone Fridays, and she has this dream of like a quarterly Shabbat dinner, and so we're doing our first real one.
Oh.
It's a lot of work.
I was just at one.
You were?
Yes. It was lovely. I was so grateful to be invited because the food was the bomb.
It is good.
It's great.
It is good.
Okay, what has been a blessing? Let me see. There have been so many. I think just the kindness of people and the beauty and creativity of the resistance of people resisting what's going on in our what seems like a demise of the American government or U.S. government. Like I really have found that very hopeful and joyful, and I've been grateful to see it. I went to a protest on Sunday, and I love seeing people what people write on signs. And
Yeah. What was this particular?
let me see. They're just very. I mean, the one I'm just thinking of a graphic one where it was all who are the Ku Klux Klan. So it's all the Ku Klux Klan, all these little triangles, right, and all the white triangles, and then one of the white triangles right in the middle, and then it had a little orange cap to.
I
top.
see.
And I was like, yeah, man. Anyways, it's just cool.
Yeah.
People are very creative, and I like people who have like old signs where it's like they've been to every protest.
Sure.
Like they're still this woman had an EPA, not an EPA. No. What's the women's organization? It's from the 70s or the 60s. It's like
Suffragettes?
not the suffragettes. It's not that far back, but anyways,
Triangle Shirtwaist Factory?
yeah, it was very old school, and I
Yeah.
was just like, oh my gosh. And she had a little beard. She had a little beard of which I'm sure I'll grow as I get older. If my mom wouldn't have let that happen, though. How about you?
Oh me, God, I was gonna say it's hard. I'm gonna do one for like the special. There's so much to say. I guess I'll do it. Just there's so many people to thank for that special. But I'll do the Tova, my girlfriend, was also a producer on it. My God, she had to deal with the worst of me. The worst of me. This Thursday run was rough, and I said the Elysian is phenomenal, but it's a small, it's 100 seats, and then with camera kills, I think we had like 110, and we had that one bad show, and I was like, I made a mistake filming this thing here. I just thought I made a mistake. It's too small. I was like, we're not going to be able to release this. I've never spent more money in my entire life on a thing. And I was like, I told her like she had set up like a party for after we did 4 tapings. And I was like, I'm sorry, I love you. We have to cancel the party. I was trying not to cry because I was starting to lose my voice. It was so rough. And then the first show, this is the thing about doing it in LA. I'm just not used to all the LA stuff where there were some no shows for the early show. And, in New York, I would go because you go to the coffee shop, offer $100 to anyone to please just come watch it. But there's just nothing.
You can't do it.
There's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing.
And then so she got beer and went out to the front and gave, just liquored people up. We figured out, we waited for people to drive and late come. And then she put the great party together. So there's a lot of people to thank for the special, and it'll be a long credit sequence. But Tova knows that I'm not cool when there is a taping. I'm a mess of a human being.
Yeah. Oh.
And so she saw me through this one for sure.
Are you guys gonna distribute it yourselves?
I'll probably put it on. We're gonna shop it around, see if license. But I'm so ready to. I just want this one to be seen so badly, and I've built up the YouTube infrastructure for it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's not. It's nice in the sense like all the deals. Ultimately, I make my living from ticket sales, and so this is I just want it to be seen, and I can focus primarily on like how do I get it seen as opposed to any other concern.
That's beautiful. I love it. That's very inspiring. I hope to release my own special next time, just to do it off my own website. And my fantasy is that it would give money towards unhousedness in Los Angeles on some level. Like I could do a split of it, so it would be an ongoing source of income for like the Downtown Women's Center or we'll see. These are all dreams. They are not yet done, so don't think I've done it. I haven't.
I'm going to take all the money from this one for myself, but
job.
I think by number 5 or 6, There'll be a split.
Well, you're a younger person than I am, and also I have generational wealth. Both my parents died. They were white. It's completely unjust that they had this much money, but they died, so justice served. All right.
And where can people find you?
MariaBamford.com. Maria Bamford. Comedy, Instagram, also Maria Bamford. At, just Google it. Or don't. Stay off your phone. Get yourself go outside, stare into a loved one's face, longingly searching for answers.
Agreed. I'll be in Tacoma this weekend, Spokane on Sunday, and the weekend after that, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and then Dayton, Ohio, and Cleveland, Ohio. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. 2 bonus episodes every month, and you get to watch kind of our assembled live episodes that are very good. But thank you so much for being here,
Thank you
Maria.
for having me.
Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all in AA. Maybe. This is The Downside.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.